On the morning of June 23, 2007, firefighters were called to a house on East Newton Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma. When they forced their way inside, the house was pitch black with smoke. They ventilated the building and cleared the air. The first thing they found was a 7-month-old baby girl. Her burned body was on the living room floor, just behind the couch, near the front door. She was dead. In the next room, they found her mother. She was on the floor, partially underneath a bunk bed, covered in burns and unconscious. When paramedics turned her over to check her head, they found large depressions, indentations, and fractures pressed into her skull. More than 20 lacerations across her face and scalp. She had been beaten with a claw hammer before the fire was ever lit. She died at the hospital shortly after. Her name was Brooke Whitaker. She was 24 years old. Her daughter's name was Kia. She was 7 months old. And before he set that house on fire, Raymond Eugene Johnson, Brooke's ex-boyfriend and Kia's biological father, looked at Brooke and told her she deserved to die. On May 14, 2026, the state of Oklahoma executed him. This is the full story. Raymond Eugene Johnson has just been executed for the crimes he committed on June 23, 2007, when he was 33 years old. The brutal beating and burning alive of his ex-girlfriend Brooke Whitaker, 24, and her 7-month-old daughter Kia in their own home in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Raymond Eugene Johnson was born on March 26, 1974, in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. He grew up in circumstances marked by instability and poverty. By the time he was 21 years old, he had already taken a life. On September 11, 1995, Johnson got into an argument with a 25-year-old man named Clarence Ray Oliver in Oklahoma City. The argument escalated into a physical confrontation. When Oliver tried to get away, he got into his car and attempted to drive off. Johnson, who was enraged, pulled out a gun and shot him through the passenger side window as the car moved. Oliver's car crashed into a ditch nearby. His body was found the following day. About 2 weeks later, Johnson was questioned by detectives and arrested for the murder. He pleaded guilty to manslaughter and was sentenced to 20 years in prison. He served 9 of those 20 years and was paroled in 2005. He shot a man dead during an argument at 21 years old, served less than half his sentence, and was released back into the world at 31. That decision, to let him out in 2005, set the stage for everything that happened 2 years later in Tulsa. After his release, Johnson relocated from Oklahoma City to Tulsa. He had no job, no stable home, and a manslaughter conviction behind him. And that is where he met Brooke Whitaker. She worked nights as a dancer at Escapades, a club in Tulsa. She was a young woman trying to provide for her family, navigating a relationship that had turned dangerous, and doing everything a woman in her position could do to protect herself. By late 2006 or early 2007, Johnson had moved into Brooke's house on East Newton Street. The house where she lived with her 4 children, 3 from prior relationships, and the youngest, Kia, Johnson's own biological daughter. At first, it may have looked like a family taking shape. A man, a woman, a shared baby, children in the house. But what was actually happening inside those walls was very different. Johnson controlled Brooke. He limited who she could speak to, where she could go, and what she could do. He physically abused her. And on more than 10 separate occasions, he threatened to kill her. Not once. Not twice. More than 10 times. By April 2007, Brooke had reached her limit. She took her children, left the house, and moved in with her mother for 2 weeks. During that time, Johnson called Brooke's mother directly. Not to reconcile. Not to apologize, but to tell her that he was going to kill Brooke. Brooke also filed a restraining order against him in April 2007, formally documenting his threats. The courts put the order in place. It should have been a wall between her and the man threatening her life. But in May 2007, neither Brooke nor Johnson appeared at the scheduled court hearing. The restraining order was dismissed. And Brooke, as happens tragically often in cases of domestic violence, reconciled with Johnson. He moved back into her house around the 1st of May. What Brooke did not know at the time, or possibly knew and tried not to think about, was that Johnson was simultaneously in a relationship with another woman. Her name was Jennifer Walton, and she was pregnant with Johnson's child. By the first or second week of June 2007, Johnson had made arrangements to move out of Brooke's house and into the home of Jennifer's friend. So by the third week of June 2007, Raymond Johnson had one foot out the door. He was leaving Brooke's house for another woman. He was moving on. And something about that, whether it was rage, jealousy, a sense of unfinished business, or something darker, brought him back to East Newton Street on the morning of June 23, 2007. He arrived at Brooke's home that morning and a confrontation broke out. Neighbors later reported hearing arguing, banging, and Brooke's cries for help. At some point during that confrontation, Johnson began hitting Brooke with a metal claw hammer. He struck her repeatedly, across her face, across her scalp, more than 20 times. Her skull fractured under the force of the blows. And still, somehow, Brooke Whitaker remained conscious. As Johnson kept hitting her, Brooke begged him to stop. She begged him to call 911. She begged him to let her mother come and get baby Kia, who was sleeping in a bedroom nearby. She begged him to think of her children. She was on the floor of her own home. Her skull caved in, and she was still fighting for her children's lives. Johnson neglected all her pleas and told her she deserved to die. After the beating, Johnson walked out of the house to the backyard tool shed. He came back with a gas can. He poured gasoline over Brooke and throughout the house. Then he lit a dish towel on fire, threw it at her, and walked out. He left Brooke Whitaker burning on the floor of her own home. And baby Kia, 7 months old, fathered by the man who had just set the house ablaze, was in the next room. Firefighters arrived at 11:11 a.m. Inside the front door, behind the couch on the living room floor, they found Kia's burned body. She was dead. In the next room, they found Brooke, unconscious, burned, with a destroyed skull. Paramedics managed to re-establish a pulse. She was rushed to Hillcrest Medical Center. She was pronounced dead shortly after arrival. The cause of death: blunt force trauma to the head and smoke inhalation. She had survived the hammer long enough to be set on fire. She had survived the fire long enough to reach the hospital. Brooke Whitaker was 24 years old when she was murdered. She was a young mother of 4. Her children were 7 years old, 5, 3, and 7 months at the time of her death. Think about who those children were left with after that morning, growing up without their mother and their baby sister. Fortunately, her 3 older children were not home that morning. They survived. Kia, the baby, was Johnson's biological daughter. She did not. After setting the house on fire and leaving Brooke to die, Raymond Johnson drove out of Tulsa. He was arrested the same day, later that afternoon, in a town called Coweta, about 30 miles southeast of Tulsa. Investigators found critical evidence in a nearby dumpster: bloody clothing, the claw hammer used in the beating, and Brooke Whitaker's wallet. At the police station, Johnson confessed. Fully. Clearly. Without apparent coercion. He spoke freely and coherently to detectives, according to testimony from the arresting officer, who confirmed that Johnson was not intoxicated, appeared focused, gave clear answers, and showed no signs of physically harming himself. In the course of that conversation, Johnson admitted to striking Brooke with the hammer and intentionally starting the fire. His attorneys would later argue that the arrest had been illegal and that the confession had been coerced. But the courts, reviewing the physical evidence, the forensic evidence, and the circumstances of the confession, found those arguments unpersuasive. According to Johnson himself, Before the trial began, he tried to plead guilty in exchange for 2 life sentences without the possibility of parole. He wanted to avoid a trial entirely and accept full responsibility. He said he was told that the prosecution had promised the victim's family the death penalty, and so the offer was rejected. He was forced to stand trial. Jury selection for Johnson's trial took place in June 2009, 2 years after the murders. The prosecution sought the death penalty. The jury found him guilty on all counts on May 14, 2009, 2 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of first-degree arson, after former conviction of 2 or more felonies. The jury identified 4 aggravating factors, including Johnson's prior violent felony conviction for the 1995 manslaughter, and the especially heinous, atrocious, and cruel nature of the crime. He was sentenced to death for each of the murder charges and to life imprisonment for the arson. The Oklahoma Court of Criminal Appeals upheld his convictions and sentences in 2012. His appeals continued through the federal system. The U.S. Supreme Court declined to hear his case in 2019. Raymond Eugene Johnson was sent to the Oklahoma State Penitentiary in McAlester, Oklahoma, where he spent the next 17 years on death row. In that time, by all accounts, he changed. He became a practicing Christian and joined the Church of the Brethren, a faith community he maintained genuine ties with throughout his time in prison. He led church services inside the penitentiary. He wrote letters to fellow church members on the outside, including elderly members who said he encouraged them. He corresponded with his children and they, in turn, leaned on him for counsel and guidance. He worked to improve conditions for fellow inmates and mediate tensions inside the prison. His attorneys and supporters described him as a genuine force for good within the walls of the penitentiary. In July 2022, the Oklahoma Court of Criminal Appeals set execution dates for 25 death row inmates. Johnson was among them, initially scheduled to be executed on May 2, 2024. But that date came and went. Attorney General Gentner Drummond requested a delay, asking for 60 days between executions rather than 30, citing the burden on Department of Corrections staff. The execution was postponed. On February 25, the Oklahoma Court of Criminal Appeals set the date, May 14, 2026. On April 8, 2026, Johnson appeared before the Oklahoma Pardon and Parole Board, asking for clemency, asking for his sentence to be commuted to life without parole. He spoke at that hearing with what appeared to be genuine remorse. He said, "I know the love shared because to know Brooke and Kia was to love them. Today, I sit here responsible for their deaths. I apologize. No excuses, no justifications, a sincere apology." Logan Kleck, Brooke's oldest daughter, now 24, sat in that same room and read her statement to the board. She was 5 years old when her mother was killed. Now she was the same age as her mother had been. And she looked at the board and said, "I'm 24, but here today is that 5-year-old little girl, begging you not to grant clemency to Raymond Johnson. Don't let him have this too." The board voted 5-0 to deny clemency. Because Oklahoma's governor can only intervene if the board recommends clemency, that unanimous vote meant Governor Kevin Stitt's hands were tied. There would be no reprieve. Johnson's attorneys did not file a last-minute appeal with the U.S. Supreme Court. Every legal door had been closed, and they did not try to force the last one open. On the morning of May 14, 2026, 17 years after he had been found guilty, Raymond Eugene Johnson woke up at the Oklahoma State Penitentiary in McAlester. His last meal the previous evening had been a 12-piece boneless chicken, a pint of gizzards, a side of fried pickles, 4 packets of hot sauce, and 4 packets of ranch dressing. By 10 a.m., it was time. The execution took place at the Oklahoma State Penitentiary in McAlester on the morning of May 14, 2026, a Thursday. The method was a 3-drug lethal injection. When asked for his final statement, Johnson spoke. he said. "I apologize to the Whitaker family. I apologize to the Short family. I apologize to my family. I hope you all can find the peace that you're looking for. I love you all." The drugs were administered. Raymond Eugene Johnson was pronounced dead at 10:12 a.m. on May 14, 2026. He was 52 years old. He was the second person executed in Oklahoma in 2026 and the 11th in the United States that year. Whether this execution represents justice, and what kind of justice it is something I will have to hear from you in the comments below. If this story is one you feel deserves to be heard, share it. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And subscribe for more stories told the way they deserve to be told. If you're a lover of creepy true crime stories, true crime documentaries, horror crime, unsolved mysteries and the rest, you can do well to check out our twin channel Mysterious Dark Files for more videos like that.